Forza Horizon 5 got its first big expansion.
Forza.
Hot Wheels.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Trackmania update. Am I right?
yeah, listen, it's not far off. I'll tell you that much. So for the Forza Horizon series is kind of like crossed over with a bunch of properties, across its many entries. It's done like a Fast and Furious one, a Lego. I think the last entry had like a Lego Champions one or something like that. But Hot Wheels, it's actually done before in Forza
3.
Horizon 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is sort of like, it's like the same, but also just bigger and more like stuff in it, if that makes sense. So I think the initial like surprise of, oh my God, I'm racing on a giant recreation of the orange plastic tracks that you get in like the toy series is like, it's there, but at the same time, the tracks are like strewn around this new region entirely, which is 50 kilometers or so above the main Mexico map. So they're completely detached. You can only be in one or the other.
It's a floating
at a time.
city. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a floating city of Hot Wheels plastic, and you can 100% fall off the city. So if you're not careful. But on top of that, like you have these sort of like 3 biomes that like interconnect in the map. So you've got a region which the track is like around a snowy mountain, or like it's like a snowy volcano. The other's like a jungle, and the other's like another mountainscape, I think, or another volcano, or a sandy area or something like that. So it's cool because as you're driving around these tracks, or like taking a lot of the races are quite distance-wise, they're long because you're going so fast. You will travel like through a jungle where it's a bit wet, and you'll get like water on your car or visor, to like a snowy mountain where you can see snow, and you take these like massive plunges into an active volcano, and it just gives it like a ton of visual variety, which is really, really cool. I think it's more than just, it's plastic, the plastic tracks stuff, in the sky. Yeah. And then on top of that, the track surfaces, there's a bunch of new types. So it's not just the orange tracks. You get like portions where it's got like thick ice on top of it, so you're like drifting around. There's another one where it's like a water slide almost, so you're going downhill and like reaching crazy speeds, and you're trying to stick to the middle of the track piece so that you hit the water as opposed to the plastic because it's faster.
This is Trackmania.
Yeah, you've got magnetic portions so that you can do loop-de-loops. You can literally drive at like 170 degrees on your side for long stretches of time. My favorite are these like stretches of track where there's these like awnings that have fans on top of them. And as soon as you drive under one, you get like a boost, but they're usually stacked. So there's like 3 or 4 right after another. So you just hit them very quickly, and suddenly you're going at like 500 kilometers an hour. Like, I'm not joking. You're hitting speeds in this expansion that you could not like in the main game. It's impossible. So it's very, very, very cool in that sense. Like just the sort of like driving and the sense of speed that this expansion gives you is really nice. There's a lot of focus on maintaining speed. So sometimes when you hit like the side of a wall or you brake, like getting back up to speed can feel a bit weird because it might not look like it, but you're sometimes going at like really extreme angles upwards, and that's like really affecting your acceleration.
Yeah.
And that kind of sucks when you, in the first like hour or so of the expansion, because the progression is quite different this time around. When you start there, you're confined to a certain class of car. So at the beginning, you're only allowed to drive B-class cars, for example. And then you've got to do events like races or speed traps or story events, and all of those reward you with medals. And you reach the next rank once you've acquired enough medals, and then you unlock A-series cars. And then
and you
S1,
progress up again.
S2, and eventually it culminates in a brand new class of cars called X. which are like the fastest in the game. Yeah, I don't know, S2. And then just
my
X.
God, I can't with this tearing.
So at the beginning, it feels a bit weird because you've got these like really cool stretches of track, but you're restricted to B-class cars, which are quite slow. You know what I mean? Like in the grand scheme of things, they're like the very middle of the car tiering in Forza Horizon, because you go from like D, C up to B. So at times it can feel like you're going through these tracks at a bit of a molasses speed. But then as you start ranking up and accessing new classes of vehicles, then it starts like feeling like, oh, this feels like Trackmania now. You know what I mean? It never reaches that sort of like accuracy required to race it that Trackmania does, but it does give you that sense of speed.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah. The one thing I don't like is that because you've got this like strict format, you're not really, you played Forza Horizon 5. The beauty of that game is like the freedom to do whatever you want. Like if you love street races, you can continue just doing mostly street races for a very long time, or sprints or Baja races or whatever. Here it's like, no, there's only like 4 races in each tier, and those only give you a certain number of medals, and usually that's not enough to rank up. So you've got to go seek out like speed trap events or speed drift events or speed zones, or you kind of have to do like every event on offer at each tier to get to the new tier. And that kind of takes away, I think, from the freeform nature of, the Horizon series, kind of letting you enjoy the game for what, in the events that you like doing and not forcing you down a certain path. So it's a weird change that I don't particularly vibe with. Hey. I don't think it'll be a huge problem for most people, but I preferred having a choice. Whereas here, it just felt like I had to tick off things on a checkbox. Otherwise, I could not progress.
I must say that was one nice thing about. Look, it was hit or miss for me sometimes as well, because sometimes I like the thing of being led down a specific pathway. But I think in the instance of Forza, it was nice to just drive in that direction. Oh, there's a race here. Let me do that, whatever. It wasn't a thing of, oh, look, now I've got to do this, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get you.
And it's a lot of the events that I don't like. Like, I don't mind racing events no matter what type, but I don't like the fact that, like, okay, I've done all the races. Now I have to go find a speed trap zone and do that. Like, I don't care. I'll do those if I happen to drive across it. I'm not, I don't want to be on one end of the map and then have to drive or fast travel to the other end of the map just to drive through this thing to get a medal and then be told, okay, now I can move on with my life. It's just, it was weird. I don't like how, also, maybe there should have been more events in each tier, which would have helped that. But it just feels like there's just enough to get to the next tier, which means you have to do everything.
But also in the base game, you could, if for argument's sake, if that was a thing, like you have to do this event, you could get there and, you just drive a straight line for 90% of the way. Where's this? You gotta actually, drive through these windy routes to get there.
Yeah, there were many times where I'm like, oh, I'm close to this race, and I click it, and it's like, nah, you've got to go windy. And so you can see on the video footage, at least, you can see the map there. It's like pieces of track that connect 3 pieces of land, and I assume the assumption is like, oh, you can actually drive off the orange plastic and into this land, and yes, you can, but there's very little to kind of like find there. And I think what's slightly more annoying is that there are only specific parts where you can get back on the track. So usually where you get off the track is usually where you have to re-enter it. Okay. So it's not like I can use the land to like make a big shortcut. I guess I could if I knew where all the re-entry zones to the track would be, but more often than not, the GPS just like keeps you on the track. It's just like, nah, just stay on here. Yeah. So look, but it is a fun expansion.
Yeah, like, I was going to say, really just looking at this footage, I'd love to play this. But it's interesting. So Forza is obviously, it's part of Game Pass. I don't think this is included. I think this is an actual paid. I mean, Not that it's expensive, but it is a paid DLC.
I think that's where you start seeing where the real focus is for Game Pass. The idea is to get you in on the base game and support these games a lot post-launch to try and get money after the fact in 100%. That manner.
And I mean, I'm not going to do it anytime soon, but I'd 100% buy this to play it because it looks like I'd enjoy it. What baffles me, to be honest, is that it came out so soon. I mean, Forza, when did it launch? Was it?
Well, you say that, but it's been like 8 months since it launched.
Yeah, but still, like 8 months is, a lot of, an expansion would be like, let's call it minimum a year later. Like the game's been out a year. Here's an expansion to for you to jump back in.
It's
like, damn,
it's not a small expansion either. It takes around like 6-7 hours to finish.
Yeah, they threw this together like in the space of 8 months, and it's not like. So I always thought, because I have no experience with this franchise pre-5, I always thought the expansions were additions to the existing map, for example. So when I saw, Hot Wheels is coming to Forza 5. Oh, okay, it's going to be like the Mexican map we know and love, but with additional tracks. You know what I mean? I didn't expect a whole new, like literally a brand new map with 3 different biomes, and then
Yeah, I know. Most of the other expansions in the previous games have been similar. It's like you travel to a new map.
Yeah, so I didn't know that. It's really cool.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. The expansions for these games have been regularly really good. Sometimes they're simple content packs, like just cars from a certain era. Like I think they did a James Bond content pack for the last one, stuff like that. Cool. So, but sometimes you get something big and exciting like this, and I think in general it's like 2 big expansions like this per game. That has been the sort of like cadence that they followed. So we'll probably get another one in a year or so, but this is a good one. The weird structure aside, I think it's a good one. And it got me back into playing Forza, so I got reminded how fucking great that game is.
It's a great game. I do wonder, like, it feels that the gap between Forza 4 and obviously, Horizon 4 and 5 was pretty quick. Like it was 2 years.
That's been the standard. Between 3 and 4 was also 2 years.
Is it?
I think it felt shorter because there was no Forza Motorsport in between, which is what usually happened.
Because I think that it would work to their favor to keep the existing engine and then it's just supported with not just one expansion but like 2, even 3. You know what I mean? You obviously launch the game with the full team and then sort of gradually work on the next game, but have a smaller team just working on content packs. Because to churn out a Forza every 2 years, like I never played 4, but I know 4 was also good, 3 was great. Like the games are hugely received very well.
See, I wonder if they'll do that, but like I don't think they need extra time for any like engine development because they made a big deal about how they've progressed with this one to make it look so good on newer hardware. But at the same time, Playground Games is also making Fable now. So
I know.
So maybe that will take some resources away. So
yeah, because in my head, if I put it like this, Forza Horizon 6 is coming out next year. It feels so soon.
Yeah, it does. You're right. It does
super
feel
quick.
Wrong. Yeah. Maybe they'll just take an extra year on it this time.
Like I'd say, just do another expansion or 2. Like have smaller teams working on this, and then work on Fable, and then
it probably makes sense because the new Forza Motorsport is only out next year anyway.
Yeah,
so I don't see them launching a Motorsport and a new Horizon in the same year. So you're probably right. They're probably not going to.
That would be overkill.
That'd be silly.
That's too much. Like I know they're different games, but still, it's too much Forza in 1 year.
No, it's overkill. Yeah.
Cool. This expansion looks great though. I love me Hot Wheels as a kid. Love me Trackmania as an adult. So I think I would really dig
It's good fun, and there's 10 new Hot Wheels cars that you can gain, and some of them are fucking great. Love them. The one that you drive in the game's like opening, because like when you played Forza Horizon, you got that like intro where you drove like 4 different cars and stuff like that. This one is sort of like an introduction to the track using the game's new fastest car, and that car is just incredible. It is so fast, but at the same time, it feels like it's just suction cupped to the corners. Like you cannot slide in that car. It feels like wrong. It's real good.